After a district judge ruled that the U.S. government was able to require more stringent country of origin labels, Canada and Mexico went to the World Trade Organization, the intergovernmental organization that regulates global trade, in an attempt to have the requirements repealed, claiming that the laws restricted trade and violated the North American Free Trade Agreement. According to Mexico and Canada, with these more stringent labels, imported meats were being treated differently than domestic meat here in the United States, with domestic meat having a comparative advantage at what they estimated to be $3 billion. So, what they were basically saying is that when consumers were faced with a choice of imported meat or domestic meat that had all of these label requirements and that stated specifically where the meat came from in a more detailed fashion, they were choosing the American product at a point to where it was costing Mexico and Canada $3 billion. So once Mexico and Canada brought this dispute to the World Trade Organization, the World Trade Organization used a dispute settlement panel, a panel that was composed of independent experts that are appointed from a pool of well-qualified individuals, such as trade lawyers. The panel in this specific case disagreed with the valuation provided by Mexico and Canada, but agreed that the country of origin labels were a violation of NAFTA and were causing some economic loss for Mexico and Canada. The World Trade Organization then ruled that Canada and Mexico could impose retaliatory tariffs, which are levies of the value at issue, which was determined to be $1.1 billion on the U.S. and all exported meats from the U.S. to Mexico and Canada. Many within the American meat industry were also against the country of origin labels. Both the North American Meat Association and the American Meat Institute believe that the more stringent labels are costly, since they require expensive bookkeeping and labeling costs to ensure that the meat is packaged and labeled correctly, along with implementation costs to these more stringent labels. Not only would this drive the cost of meat for consumers up, but the retaliatory tariffs imposed by Mexico and Canada, with the backing of the World Trade Organization, would cause severe losses for the meat industry here in America. National Cattlemen's Beef Association President Philip Ellis estimates this loss at about $2 billion annually for the American meat industry. So ultimately, in 2016, the requirements of the country of origin labeling laws removed beef, pork muscle cuts, ground beef, and pork from the list of covered commodities that fall within this regulation. Personally, I agree with the World Trade Organization that more stringent labeling for country of origin on meat products should not be the standard in the American market. If a consumer does care about that, then the brands should be able to do so and put those labelings on there if they choose to do so, but it shouldn't be the standard. I think free trade is really important, and our relationship with Mexico and Canada is really important. And personally, I, as a consumer, don't really look at country of origin for my meat. So, for me personally, those relationships are important. But I think consumers that do care about things like that should have the option of going to brands that put those labels on there because it's something that they care about. But once again, I just think that the standard should comply with NAFTA and with what the World Trade Organization has decided that it should be.